Boker Tov, Rabotai. We're here on this beautiful Sunday morning. B'ezrat Hashem, this shur should be le'atzlahat our entire community, le'atzlahat kol Am Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, shehakol nihiya b'dvaro.
Amen.
We are in Parashat Vayechi. You know, it's very interesting that every week when you read the parasha, Ovadia here reads the parasha, when he gets to the Torah has a little gap between last week's parasha and the next week's parasha. There are two types of gaps. One type of gap, it's called a parasha setuma toist. There's a gap, but on the same line, the next parasha begins. That's called a parasha setuma, closed parasha. That means the line is closed. And there's a difference between a parasha petuha, an open parasha. That means the rest of the line where the parasha ended is left open. And then on the next line starts the next week's parasha. The difference between a parasha petuha and a parasha setuma, open and closed parasha. In this week's parasha, what's interesting is that we have a parasha, not just setuma, it's closed completely. Tomorrow, Monday morning, we're going to go to Hagbah, and we're all going to be looking, where is the place? Where does the Torah begin? There's no space, it's completely closed. So the question is, what in the world happened in this week's parasha? Why is it that the Sefer Torah is completely closed and you cannot, there's no space at all? Kulum. Rashi answers this question. Says Rashi, Lama parasha zo setuma. Continues Rashi. So before I give you the Rashi, I have to tell you that the Rambam says, the Rambam writes, if you're supposed to have a gap in the Sefer Torah and you didn't make the gap, your Sefer Torah is not kosher.
If you didn't make a
If you didn't make the gap. And if you're not supposed to have a gap and you made a gap, Sefer Torah is not kosher. It needs to be done exactly the right way. Not just the letters, but the space has to be done the right way. So what's going on? Why this week's parasha, you're not allowed to have a gap? That's Rashi's question.
gap with the next sentence, right?
Yeah, we need a little gap for the next parasha to start. Right away. This one finishes, this one starts. So Rashi says, Lama parasha zo setuma. Why is this week's parasha completely closed? Lefi shekivan sheniftar Yaakov Avinu, because when Yaakov Avinu passed away, nistemu enehem velibam shel Israel. The eyes and the hearts of the Jewish people became closed. Why? Because Yaakov is their spiritual leader. Yaakov manifested Torah ideas, Torah ideologies to the people, to his children. When he passed away, our eyes became closed, chas v'shalom. We don't have the same luminary anymore, Yaakov Avinu. Because of that, the Torah says there will be no space inside the Torah. But you know what the problem is? The problem is that in this week's parasha, it's going to continue to tell you about the life of Yaakov, the brothers of Yaakov. He's going to die later on in the parasha. Why in the beginning of the parasha already? So it's to tell you this lesson, that even though in the beginning of the parasha, nothing's really going, huh? It's saying good. So Yaakov, his passing, it brought a lot of hardship to the Jewish people. And you know, Rabbi Galinsky says a beautiful lesson. Yaakov Avinu, you got to see, he says 600,000 descendants. This is in the name of the Baal HaTurim. How is that possible? They were multiplying left and right, boom, 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 boom. Really, the exile, when did it begin? How many years after How many years after Yaakov's passing? The Seder Olam says 107 years after Yaakov's passing, only the exile began. The hardship, the burdens began. So why do we go from when Yaakov passed away? Our rabbis explained, because that's when the problem began. What was the problem? We got the land of Goshen. How many people was the land of Goshen given to? 70 people. How big was it? I don't know what. 2 blocks in Jamaica Estates. How big could it have been already? 3 blocks, 5 blocks, a mile. You know what I'm saying? So you fit 70 people inside this area. Yaakov Avinu ended up living to see 600,000 descendants, all in the same land of Goshen. But when Yaakov was alive, everything was good. Everyone was comfortable. It's like our rabbis say that when we used to come to Yerushalayim, nobody would ever say that my lodging is too tight, that Jerusalem is too tight, there's not enough space. They call Israel Eretz Tzvi, the land of the deer. Why the land of the deer? Because a deer, all the while, its skin is on top of it, it keeps everything inside. Once you cut open the skin of a deer, for all the money in the world, you will not be able to put it back together. You will not have enough skin. Its skin is so tight that when you cut it open, you will not be able to put it back together and stitch it. It's impossible. So that's the land of Israel is likened to. There's space for everyone. It's fit, it's jam-packed, but everyone's comfortable. So too in the days of Yaakov. Everyone was comfortable. Everyone had enough space in Goshen. As soon as Yaakov passed away, not just Yaakov, his sons passed away, who? You see, the first generation came, they were all brothers, everyone was together. Yaakov passed, the brothers passed, now each one has his own tribe, each one has his own, mahalach, his own path. Now all of a sudden there's not enough space. Now there's not enough space. Now we need to break the walls of what? We need to break the walls of Goshen. We need to start building outwards and leaving our safe haven.
No, but they did it themselves, no? They started to travel to different cities to make money.
They started to break and walk out, and then the Torah tells us. The Torah tells us that the land was filled with Jewish people, filled with them. They didn't stay inside Goshen. They didn't stay inside of Goshen. Rather, they left Goshen, and because they left Goshen, and all this began when Yaakov Avinu passed away. That's why the attribution of all the hardship begins from what? From the passing of Yaakov. And this is a tremendous lesson for all of us. We sometimes try to, we spoke about this last week, run away or escape our hardships. Yes? We forget that Hashem gave us our hardship, a little uncomfortable. It's there for a reason. But we say, no, I don't want to live in an 18 by 100. I want to live in a 50 by 200. Yeah? I want to move. Long Island. Baruch Hashem, how many people? I want to move somewhere. I get a big house. I want to move to I don't know what.
Florida.
A place where there's netu ivrei. I want to be comfortable. Hashem says you want to live comfortable in the exile. You want to live in 200 by 200. Especially at the expense of living in your community. You think you're going to escape? That's when all the hardship begins. That's when exile begins. We do it to ourselves, Rabotai. When we say, these neighborhoods are not good enough. I want to branch out. Where does your son live? He moved. Where did he move? Long Island. How far is the synagogue from him? 1 hour walk. Hazak Baruch. 1 hour walk. You imagine? For what? Just to get a nice piece of land. There's a good school district for my children. He wants to be comfortable. He wants a nice piece. Hashem says, you want to break the walls of Goshen? You want to leave your community? That's when, Rabotai, that's when the exile begins. The Torah in this week's parasha teaches us a lot of profound lessons. Number one, Yaakov decides to rebuke the children who need rebuke. Who was the first son who needed rebuke? Reuven. He says, Bechori ata, kohi v'reshit oni. Yeah, you're my power, he says to Reuven. Yeah, but then he criticizes Reuven. The question is, why does he wait until now to criticize Reuven? Tell him right away. Why does he wait so long? Our rabbis tell us an answer that's going to blow you out of your seat. They say that if he rebuked Reuven earlier, Reuven would have gotten up, he would have said, Assalamu alaikum, he would have packed his bags and he would have gone to live where? Next to Uncle Esav. What? Are you kidding me? What are you talking about? This is a tzaddik, Ben tzaddik, the son of a tzaddik. The answer, that criticism is so shattering that chas v'shalom, it could take a person even on the stature of Reuven and completely shock him to the point that chas v'shalom, he'll walk away. Unbelievable. And this is a profound lesson for all of us, that we have to be careful with our criticism with our Zamichanya. Because you every time you give a criticism, you stab, and you stab, and you stab, and you stab. You guys know the Paslovitza with the lady and the husband. No, every time he would say something critical to her, she would walk into the backyard and she would put a nice gvozd onto the tree. After 6 months of marriage, the husband says, what is this? We got a tree in the back full of nails. She says, every time you say something not nice to me, I put a nail into the wall. He says, Ibi, 6 months, 200, that's unbelievable. Every day you say something wrong to you. He says, how can I get them out? She says, if you treat me better, we'll take them out day by day. So he did Chazar b'tshuva. He starts to compliment. He starts to be proper. He doesn't criticize so much. He doesn't b'derech chokhmah. And what happens, eventually 6 months later, he comes and the whole tree doesn't have any more nails. He says, Baruch Hashem, I got rid of all the nails. The wife says, yes, you got rid of all the nails, but the holes are still in the trees. You pulled out all the nails, but the holes are still in my heart. So,
Они
Rabotai,
очень жены умнее, чем мужчины. Rabbi, я прав?
what comes out, I'm going to teach you one secret about Yehuda, and we're going to go with this. So like this, please.
Бухарских мужчин.
Shtos Dayot Rabotai, that Yaakov rebukes Reuven when? All the way at the end of his life. To give him rebuke, you have to. You need to set him straight. However, he waited. He didn't go, Begarmish. A lot of times we give rebuke right when somebody does something wrong to you. The guy sitting next to you wants to bite into his egg and he got the new yolk all over your shirt. Right away you want to get up and your blood vessels are gushing and you're about to pounce on the guy. You want to show him, you know what I mean? That's not a good time to say something. Take a deep breath. After you take a deep breath, you wait a few minutes, you calm down. Then you walk over. Then you can knock him down. I'm kidding. The point is that you cannot, even to a child, you cannot rebuke and reprimand the child when you're angry. Because that's not chinuch. You're not educating him. You're just getting vengeance on him. You're getting revenge. That's not chinuch. Chinuch is, you got to take a deep breath, you relax, and then you give him a nice kapao. Why? You're right. Why? Because then the child's going to understand, my father's not doing this for what? To get revenge against me. He wants what's good for me. It doesn't come from a place of anger. It comes from a place of power. Yes? Who? I need to talk for you, because when your child disrespects you, by the way, and you rebuke him with anger, then what happens when his little brother disrespects him? What's he going to do? He's going to say, well, I didn't listen to my father. What did he do? He got angry and I got a patch. He says, now my brother's not listening to me. How am I going to get him to listen? Same mechanism. He's going to get angry and he's going to pay it forward. That's the only thing you teach him.
The father showed the example for the son, the oldest son, the Bechor.
Shimon